In 1947, an aerial survey team photographed the city of Dresden from a military aircraft. The images were declassified in 1992. One photograph shows a section of the old city center before reconstruction. In the lower right corner, partially visible beneath rubble, is a building with a dome. The dome is intact. The structure around it is destroyed, but the dome shows no blast damage, no fire scoring, no collapse. It's made of a material that doesn't appear in the post-war rebuilding records. By 1950, that entire block was cleared and rebuilt. The dome is gone. No salvage report explains what happened to it or what it was made of. The official explanation is that the bombing campaigns of World War II destroyed historic architecture across Europe and Asia, and cities were rebuilt using modern materials and methods. That explanation accounts for the widespread destruction. But it doesn't explain why certain buildings in multiple cities were demolished after the war ended, when they were still standing. It also doesn't explain why the architectural surveys conducted before 1939 don't match the reconstruction blueprints used after 1945. There's a building in Berlin that survived the war. It's called the Bode Museum. The main hall has a ceiling 28 feet high. The doorways are 13 feet tall. The windowsills are 5 feet off the ground. These are not ceremonial spaces. They were administrative offices. The desks and chairs installed in 1904 were custom-built to fit the room scale, but they're significantly larger than standard furniture from that period. An invoice from 1906, stored in the Berlin City Archives, lists desk height at 42 inches. Standard desk height is 30 inches. Why would office workers need furniture built for someone nearly 7 feet tall? Once you notice it in one place, it becomes harder to ignore elsewhere. The same ceiling heights appear in municipal buildings in Warsaw, Prague, and Budapest. The same oversized doorways. The same window placement. In Bucharest, the Palace of Justice, completed in 1895, has staircases with risers that are 7 inches but treads that are 18 inches deep. The proportions suggest something other than human use or a different kind of movement. After 1944, many of these buildings were damaged. By 1953, the interiors were completely renovated. The ceilings were lowered. The doorways were reduced. The furniture was replaced. City planning documents from the 1920s refer to something called the Inherited Municipal Survey. It appears in reports from Krakow, Riga, and Tallinn. The survey cataloged public buildings constructed before 1850. It included measurements, materials, and structural notes. The documents were used for maintenance and zoning. After 1945, the surveys were reclassified. In some cities, they were moved to restricted archives. In others, they were listed as lost during the war. But the cities themselves were not fully destroyed. The archives were. What was in those surveys that required removal? Maps from 1932 show a network of large public buildings across Eastern Europe and Central Asia. The buildings are marked with a symbol that resembles a star inside a circle. The symbol does not appear on maps printed after 1950. The buildings themselves are still standing in some cases, but they've been renamed, repurposed, or partially demolished. In Kazan, a structure marked with the symbol in 1932 is referred to as a cultural center. By 1955, it's listed as a grain depot. The upper 2 floors were removed. Photographs from 1948 show the building with ornate stonework and tall arched windows. Photographs from 1958 show a flat roof and bricked-in windows. What changed in that 10-year window? Something shifted in 1950. Census records from multiple countries show a sudden increase in urban reconstruction projects. The projects were not limited to war-damaged areas. Buildings in cities that saw little or no combat were also targeted. In Astana, formerly Akmolinsk, An administrative complex from 1876 was demolished in 1951. The structure had sustained no war damage. The demolition was described as necessary for socialist modernization. But the building that replaced it was smaller, simpler, and built with cheaper materials. If the goal was progress, why replace something more advanced with something less so? If these buildings were designed by the same culture, what would happen to them during a period of total war? If the architecture suggested a history that didn't align with the accepted narrative, would it be safer to leave it standing or remove it? If reconstruction was about restoring cities, why were so many pre-war structures demolished after the fighting stopped? And if the goal was to erase something, what kind of coordination would that require across multiple nations, multiple governments, multiple wars? The rubble was cleared. The records were reclassified. The buildings were replaced. But the foundations are still there. In some cities, construction crews still find rooms below street level that don't appear on any blueprint. The rooms are empty. The walls are smooth stone. The doorways are too tall. And no one has an explanation for who built them or when. Maybe the wars didn't erase the cities. Maybe the wars provided the opportunity. Maybe the reconstruction wasn't about building forward. Maybe it was about building over. Or maybe the architecture we're told is historic is newer than the ruins it replaced, and 1950 wasn't an ending. It was a reset. If you've come across something similar in your own research, share it below. If this kind of investigation interests you, there's more to follow. Subscribe if you'd like to keep looking.